You're listening to Learning Leader Spotlight, interviews with corporate L&D leaders. On each episode, we sit down with key industry experts to discover more about what's happening in the world of learning and development, from current trends and insights to the most valuable lessons learned along the way. Join us for a fresh perspective on all things training and the best direction forward.
Hi, welcome to the Learning Leader Podcast, the podcast where we interview the learning leaders of today to inspire the learning leaders of tomorrow. My name is Rick Ransom. I'm a relationship manager with Training Pros. Training Pros is a learning and development staffing company where we like to say when you have more projects than people, then let us find you the consultant that is going to start your project off with confidence. Training Pros is the sponsor of this podcast. Today, I have the privilege of welcoming Matt Smith. Matt Smith is the Vice President of Learning and Development of Curana Health. Curana Health is the largest provider of senior living primary care services in the country. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Rick, thank you so much for having me. Really delighted to be here today.
Absolutely. We're delighted to have you. All right, let's kick things off. So can you share with our audience a 60-second overview of what you do?
Very happy to. So, okay, first of all, about me, you ask about professional, but I'm going to start with the personal. I'm a dad of a 4.5-year-old. It's almost Father's Day when we're recording this, so I just had donuts with my daughter at her daycare, a lot of D's in that. And any day that I can go for a run, listen to a podcast, and cook some food for my family is a day where my mental health is way better than anything else. So that's who I am. What I do, I run our learning and development function here at Curana Health. And at Curana Health, we're really dedicated to transforming the healthcare experience for seniors and partnering with skilled nursing and senior living operators in their adoption of value-based care models. And we offer on-site healthcare services, value-based care solutions, including accountable care organizations and Medicare Advantage special needs plans. And what all that means is I spend all day, every day thinking about how can we help our folks at Curana get a little bit better at their jobs, make learning a lot more engaging, and really help people transform what they do into something a little bit better.
I love the introduction. The personal leading into the professional. It's having breakfast with the kids to inspire and to create that energy that sustains throughout the day in terms of helping people with where you're at with Curana Health. And it's like, how do I say? It's we all have seniors in our lives, whether it's your grandparents or your parents, like in my case, helping and supporting my parents, or you yourself actually have need for a senior care. So it feels as though, and I'm going to say this, which is that you're doing meaningful work that is actually helping people.
It is really, really, really wonderful to have that opportunity. And Rick, every single person you talk to, and if you talk to anyone else at Curana, everyone has their story, but everybody has their story. We can do better. Let's figure out what we need to do to actually do better. And being a part of that, that's really cool.
I personally would agree. So with that, I feel that is a segue into, so then what first attracted you to the field of learning and development?
Yeah. So prior to joining Curana, I'd spent a lot of years at a big consulting company. And I had been on the consulting side, realized at some point in time, consulting wasn't for me. And so started looking around, what else am I going to do? What could I do? What's the next opportunity? And I'm guessing like basically every single person who's listening to this, who works in learning in some way, you probably love teaching, helping people learn, seeing that spark in some place you've experienced that. I'm the exact same. I've always loved tutoring people, teaching people, whatever it might be. And so as I was leaving this consulting firm, someone said, "Hey, do you want to do that as a job?" And I said, "What? I can get paid money to do this thing I was doing for free in my magic time? Yeah, I'm going to do that." And it was amazing. And so I got to spend in multiple different roles in learning and development at this consulting firm, helping people get better at their jobs, teaching people, coaching people, building trainings, whatever it might be, and haven't looked back since. But it was that I have the opportunity to do something that I love doing. I can't turn it off. Like, ask my wife. I promise you, she will tell you that he cannot turn off his learning, coaching, helping brain, which sometimes is really great. And sometimes, at the dinner table, coaching your partner is not a good move. Just general life advice for anyone listening. When the person sitting across from you at the dinner table is complaining about their job, what they are not asking for is, hey, can you help me fix this problem? They're probably asking for, yeah, that does suck. I'm sorry. That stinks. But I just can't help it. That's me. And so being in a place where I get to do that all day, every day, it's the best.
There's a lot there. I would.
You're like, let's unpack that, Matt.
I know. Let's unpack that, because it is. Because again, finding the work that's meaningful, and especially with helping others and learning and training in the classroom, and then providing unsolicited coaching at the dining room table. So that always goes over very well. I know that from personal experience. But I will bring it back to when we're talking about learning and development, and especially corporate training, especially with learning leaders. And I'm going to peel the curtain back a little bit to our audience when we're talking about what are some of the new things that we can talk about on this podcast. But I will say is that in addition to talking with leaders across different industries, across different levels, across level learning leader, the consistent thread is being attracted to working with people, and then seeing and being staying within the field of learning and being attracted to the field because of helping people, and really having that value of wanting to continue to help people as a way of providing value to an organization. So I just wanted to call that in and thank you for that as a way to continue to validate what it is that makes us attracted to, again, the field of learning and development. So Matt, what are the most impactful changes you've seen in the last few years of learning and development?
Yeah, I would say two things really jump to mind for me. One, common refrain, I think you're going to hear this from everybody, is AI is coming. Like, insert your best Jon Snow impersonation here. Like, AI is coming. Honestly, it's here. Like, it has arrived. But that is one big piece, and there's going to be a lot more of that. And I say that, and we can dig in more, but I say that because it's not just learning. It's what your C-suite's hearing about all day, every day. From every conference they go to, it's going to be talked about. And if they're talking about it and we're not a good look for learning and development. So we need to do something about that. I think the other piece, and it's related but a little bit different, is just increased scrutiny on what's the impact, what's the ROI of what we're doing. And I think that stemmed a little bit from this realization of, hey, we went through COVID a few years ago, and at the end of the day, we were able to prove out you can do learning not in a big, expensive classroom and still have impact. And then business leaders go, wait, you don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to fly people to some offsite location to do training. We had built this big infrastructure around that. And now you're able to pivot and do something for a lot less money, and we see a lot of the same impacts for it. Maybe we should be pushing on that thread a little bit. And so, our CFOs respond accordingly. But what that does is it just puts pressure on this. How do we create scalable solutions? And if we've been able to prove that we could do it during COVID times, we gosh darn better be able to continue proving it. And what is that going to look like for us? And, it's, hey, is it the flipped classroom that I'm sure we would have been the topic of conversation 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago of like, oh, that's the next thing. Is it, hey, how do we create micro learning experiences and really those really small, tactical, I actually learned something in 15 seconds and that made a big impact on me. But regardless of that, it's how do we scale?
Yeah. It's like, how do I say? Well, one, obviously, you cannot talk about the changes in learning and development and not talk about AI. So that's obviously we should probably change the question to, in addition to AI, what are some of the changes you've seen in learning and development in the last few years? But then also talking about the shifting in the dynamics and the investment, and no matter what type of work that you're doing or the type of industry, it's always what is the value that you're bringing back to the organization. And in addition to the meaningful side of the work, it does always have to have that swim lane or spinning plate or whatever metaphor you want to use, of always the meaningful alongside the value driving and the impact you're making to whatever organization and you're speaking to it. And then for aspiring learning leaders, again, it's as learning leaders, what are the conversations and the topics that you're having with your leadership that are going to make learning leaders successful? So thank you for sharing that and providing that perspective.
Yeah, can I build on something?
Yeah.
That is, as the aspiring learning leader, one of the things that I found to be so incredibly impactful is the ability to just sit and listen to what other people around the organization are talking about and draw out what are their challenges so that I can be a partner in solving them. Because it is amazing the difference in trying to sell something to somebody else. Hey, have you seen the latest and greatest of this or that next learning idea, versus saying, hey, I know that retention is a really big challenge here. How can we work together on that? Oh, did you know that, new hires who adopt a growth mindset in high stress organizations are 15%, I'm making all these numbers up on the fly, are 15% less likely to exit the organization in their first year? Oh, I didn't. Maybe, hey, what would that look like? How could we build that? Oh, and then that just evolves into a conversation. And then you have a pilot, and then you have a program that you can scale up. But it started not with, oh, I want to push growth mindset. It started with, here is a challenge that I heard about. And the only way I heard about it was I was literally talking to people outside of the learning function. And I say that because if you're at a big organization with a very large learning organization, it's really easy to just be part of the learning team. And if you want to be a learning leader, that's not enough.
It sounds like what you're describing is being a trusted advisor, removing the silo and being a trusted advisor to the organization across different positions, in terms of identifying what are those opportunities and how can we be a trusted advisor to help the organization, to help in more areas than just what we may see in front of us. If I can
put
words in your mouth.
It's be a trusted advisor and then know how to run a basic selling process to get someone on board with an idea. And it doesn't have to be my idea. It can be their idea, but how do we make it easy for them to implement something?
Absolutely.
It's like, oh, I want that. Well, here's how you get it. Here's how we work together to do it. Here's what you need to be doing to make this successful. And everyone's happy to do that if we can be clear with them about what they need to do. It's not that much work for a business stakeholder.
And the word trusted advisor comes from the work of Dr. Keith Kading, who was a recent guest on our podcast. And so definitely as a way to... Oh, go ahead.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of learning and development and bringing value to organizations, where do you see the learning and development space headed within the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. So Rick, you can take the person out of being a consultant, but you can't take the consultant out of a person. So I've got three things for you.
Let's do it.
One is even closer partnership with a business. Two is helping democratize AI around the organization. So how do we actually teach people, in many ways, teach people how to Google? Like learning how to do something new at some point in time was, just Google it. We need to be able to teach people how to AI and whatever that means. We can talk more about that. And then the third thing is we're all in a business and like just continued push on ROI. What's the impact? How are we driving value for the organization? And whether that is a boosting selling, like boosting, hey, our sales team, what we did, we can boost sales. That's a really easy measurement. But maybe it's just boosting the balance sheet. If you work at an organization where people are the only asset, Curana Health, my job is to boost our balance sheet. My job is to boost all of our people, make us all more effective and more impactful. And that is also really valuable. Measuring that, haven't figured out how to do that yet. If anyone listening has tips, feel free to email me. But at the end of the day, like it's those three things. So how do we get closer to the business? How do we make sure that learning is driving the change that our most senior leaders in the organization are really looking for? And yes, there might be a need to drive something that I want to drive. Yeah, we need to drive a learning culture, but that's not because I want that. That has to be because that's what our CEO wants. That's what our CFO wants, our chief people, whomever it is. It's not my agenda. It's how do I support their agenda? Again, on that, the AI front is if I can arm 200 people around Curana to really be amazing at AI and not just the new Google of AI. Oh, what's the answer to this question? Oh, let me just type that into Chat GPT. No, it's actually building out the agents to transform your workflow. Don't ask me how to do that. I do not know yet. I'm working on figuring that part out. But if I can help the organization do that, that transforms how we work together. And that's going to have an impact on what we do 3-5 years from now, and not just what we do tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure that if I can do those two things, my bar on ROI is going to go down because everyone's just going to see it and feel it. And if you see it and feel it, that answers a lot of questions. Of course, you need to measure it, but if you know it's there, there's less scrutiny on what's the precise ROI versus like, holy cow, this is obviously important for us as an organization.
Well, what I'm hearing is the waltz, or I don't know, maybe a breakdance. I don't know what the cool young people are doing, but it's the balancing between meaningful work and learning, but then also the business side of it. And how do we consistently not just pull the measurement, but how do we demonstrate the overall, dare I use the word, feel in terms of the impact of the organization as demonstrated through measurement or as demonstrated through hitting KPIs such as ROI.
Exactly.
So in getting to that point, and getting to this point of understanding and having conversations with leadership and stakeholders. So have you had professional mentors in your life? And if so, who have they been, or what has been your model for mentorship?
It's funny. I haven't had a main mentor. I've had and continue to have lots of mentors. And I think about it like I'm a homeowner. If I need something fixed, it's like, I don't have one person I call. It's like, okay, who's my person for this type of problem? Like, oh, I need someone to paint this. And so I almost think about mentorship in the same way. It's like, there isn't one person that I can go to for every single challenge that I'm going to face in my career. But have I cultivated, established, maintained, built relationships with people that can help on a wide variety of different challenges I might face? And am I willing to actually stop and ask for that help? And I think that that's one of the things that's really helped me be successful. And so in my prior learning roles, I've had the opportunity to work in global roles. I've had the opportunity to be a professionally trained certified leadership coach. And so I have former coaches, I have former colleagues who are now in different roles. I have some vendors that I keep in really close touch with now, multiple years later. And it's all this, who's my person on this kind of question? Who are the 2 or 3 people that I want to get advice from and then synthesize the answer for? And that concept of whether it's like I'm the general contractor and I've got a bunch of different people out there, or I did a training one time and it was talked about the personal board of directors. So not who's my head of the board of directors, i.e. my main number one mentor, but do I have the right support system around me to be able to work through some of the challenges that I'm facing? And it's really been a really broad and wide group of folks. And happy to share more specific stories, but I don't know, that's what comes to mind for me. It's a network. It's not a person.
Well, I will say that I love that idea, and not just saying it as a way of just saying it, but literally, I think in terms of in the perspective that I've seen when people talk about mentorship not being successful or having an opinion, a negative opinion about mentorship, because potentially there could be looking for that perfect person, that perfect unicorn that's going to solve everything and be that resource for all aspects and areas of your life and our lives and the challenges within those lives. But then how do we connect with, as you put it, the board of directors, and I'm totally going to take that, of mentorship that can continue to provide support. They may, based upon where their strengths are and the results that they have that you may want or we may want for ourselves, and being able to include and keep those levels of mentors as opposed to looking for that perfect somebody who can solve all of our challenges all of the time.
Exactly. Oh, Rick, can I offer a piece of advice for anyone who's like more junior and just getting started that
Please.
I have definitely also learned about mentorship? Is that as the mentee, it's your job to make sure that relationship works. It is not the mentor's job. Like, granted, if the mentor isn't responding, like,
right,
cut bait and move on and go to something else. But I, early on in my career, thought, oh, well, they're going to take me under their wing and they're going to help support me throughout, regardless of whether I'm reaching out. That is not how things work. I love mentoring people, and I am way too busy to remember who reached out about what at any given point in time. And yes, there are some people that I remember a little bit more and will like a little bit more actively follow up with. But it's the best email I get every single day when someone, any day of the week, if someone emails me and says, hey, Matt, it's been a while, I'd love to talk through this problem. Best email I get. I'm so happy to find time to squeeze that in, but I am not going to be the person who says, oh, hey, we talked 6 months ago. I wonder how that's going. There's only so much headspace I have. And so looking at it from the other lens of, hey, if I had just followed up a little bit more with a couple of people early on in my career, I'd have a few more really great people on my board of directors. But I didn't, because I didn't know that that's what I was supposed to do, because no one ever stopped and said, hey, Matt, for this to work, that's on you. I'm in it if you're in it, but you've got to make sure and hold me accountable for being a great mentor for you. And I would just encourage, now, like, what I'm also not saying is, like, if you're talking to someone for the first time saying, okay, so now we're going to schedule a weekly coffee chat that's going to be 45 minutes and it's going to take place in the middle of the day and blow up your entire day. Like, I'm not saying that, but hey, as you have questions, hey, maybe it's a quarterly update. Just, hey, it's been a little minute. I wanted to share this update. No action needed even. Or, hey, I've got a quick question on this. Is it something that they can answer via email versus having to find time to schedule a phone call for? And then when it's like, hey, I actually then have something that's worth a conversation about, you've continued developing that relationship asynchronously it doesn't feel weird to then reach out a year later for the actual time you need their help.
I'm hearing a couple of things there. One, the importance of mentorship programs that actually provide the level of learning and training to be effective mentors. Because having been both, having been a mentee and also learning that to be a mentor is not to be over micromanaging and over controlling, because I'm the type of mentor in the beginning that would have put those meetings on the calendar for the mentee, and that is not contrary. Those are contrary to everything that you just shared for an effective mentorship relationship. Speaking of developing learning in particular areas of professional growth, such as mentorship, so let's switch gears and talk about the importance, well, relatedly, let's talk about the skills. So what do you see are some of the most important skills in talent right now?
Mind reading. Okay, hear me out. I'm not talking about like the mentalist mind reading, although if you have that skill, it would definitely draw some engagement in your trainings. But what I mean is, can you get at what matters most for somebody? Can you figure out what actually keeps them up at night without asking them that really awkward question that you see in every single like terrible sales training? Like, what keeps you up at night? Like, that's not your first question out of the gate with somebody. Don't do that. But if you can figure out what that is just by getting to know them, getting to know their business, understanding what the key drivers of their business are, understanding the whatever is happening to them for them. If you can do that, you can be that partner that's really going to be a trusted advisor. And the more you're able to sort of tailor what and hone in on what actually are those challenges, what matters most to whomever. And that could be the business part of that. It's also our learners. What matters most to them? Does this learning actually matter most to them? Probably not. Like Rick, when's the last time that you went through a training and at that moment, that was the thing that actually mattered the most to you?
It's hard to say.
And so one, if we know that, that probably informs how we shape that training. It probably encourages us to be a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more to the point. Or if this genuinely is one of the three things that is going to make a big difference in someone's next 6 months in their career, and we know that, how do we tap into that and tell that story so that it really sticks? Because either we know something that they don't know, and we need to get them to believe that this actually does matter most to them, or they already know it does or doesn't. And then if it doesn't actually matter to them, how do we get that information across in a clear, concise way so everybody can move on? Or how do we really invest in that topic because it genuinely is the thing that's going to move the needle for that person? So skill, mind reading. Why? It gets at the heart of what matters most.
Well, I'd say it hard to say, and it's not actually hard to say. It's the way that you were describing. Mind reading is not just a skill that you are mentioning right now, but it's been consistent in terms of everything that we've been talking about, which is being available, not operating within a silo, I'm going to keep using it for having one foot in terms of the meaningful work and the connection with the learners and being connected to the people and helping people, but then also two, again, connecting it to the business and what are the things that are going to do that's going to make everything successful. And then being able to have that level of mind reading, have that level of, I'm going to throw in active listening, which is the ability to observe and absorb more than what's being said so that you can anticipate. And we're going to, again, like you said, to be that trusted advisor, to be able to be that trusted advisor, your organization through learning.
I love that, the synthesis. And like, as I'm talking, I'm definitely picking up on that theme that I'm putting out as well. And I also think you could also think about that as you get more and more senior in a learning function, that sort of the scope of what that might look like could also be different. So going from, hey, I'm now a team lead of a group of learning designers, even if what the next step is expanding beyond learning design into learning operations and the intake process and marketing and communications around learning and the sort of learning business partners, the folks that are actually saying what should be done, that might be the right next sort of expanding your circle sphere of understanding and influence. And then when you're in the role that I'm in, there's a lot of that sphere that I need to be understanding and occupying so I can help the whole team understand what our priorities are, what we should be focused on, are the messages we're trying to put out there going to actually change behaviors in the way that we need to for both the learner and the organization. But I just wanted to frame up that if what you're hearing sounds remarkably overwhelming and daunting of like, I don't have time to do that. I'm so busy just building out this interactive e-learning module. What's one ring slightly wider? Like if tree analogy, what's the next ring out? And it doesn't have to be far out, but if you can constantly be adding some rings, at some point in time, you're going to look back and go, oh, I actually know a lot about what's going on and why it's going on. And to me, when you're looking at, can I promote this person? I need to hire a more senior role. The person that gets it, whatever it is, it's a pretty big selling factor for being able to get someone promoted, being able to hire someone into a role. And so I just wanted to take a second because I get, if I was listening to this 10 years ago, I'd be like, I don't have time to do that stuff, Matt. What are you talking about? But it's an evolution over a very long time to get there.
Well, can I also add the distinction in terms of the audience for this is aspiring leaders and aspiring leaders. And from an individual contributor standpoint, yes, this can absolutely be overwhelming. But as you move into leadership positions, having that visibility and being able to mind read and being able to anticipate, and then having either being able to identify the work involved and pulling in the resources and having the ability to pull in resources so that it's not all on one person's shoulders. As we're learning, what is your favorite source of industry news and information?
It's honestly my quote unquote board of directors. Like that's where I learn. And it's in part because I don't know the one place that I can go to get everything, and staying on top of the latest in learning technology. There are a couple of places that I find to be helpful, but the best is the person whose job is to be thinking about the latest and greatest in learning, innovation, and technology all day, every day. 15 minutes with that person is worth way more than 10 hours of reading that I could possibly do. And similarly, if I'm looking for, hey, what's the latest and greatest in LMSs? Let me just talk to the person who I know who's in another learning role who just did a big RFP process and spent 3 months figuring out that question. It's huge. And if you really want one answer, Reddit. I mean, Reddit's just, there are a lot of really fun learning subreddits over on that site.
I don't think we've had Reddit on here, and I am actually going to explore more with that based upon your recommendation. Thank you, Matt.
Of course. You get real, right? Like some random website that's like, hey, here's because it's kind of anonymous, like I feel like there are actually real answers of like, hey, is this product a good product? And you look and you see if there is a Reddit thread on it. It's like, oh, okay. That's what people actually think. Cool.
I have some homework to do after this, so thank you for that, Matt. Speaking of other reading, so what is one book that anyone moving into leadership should read?
I don't have an answer for anyone because whenever I get asked for book recommendations, who am I talking to? Like, what's the need? What's the gap? Like, is there a particular type of thing that someone is needing? Because it goes back to just the general learning philosophy of, hey, let's meet someone where they are and help them take the right next step. And to me, that's really important. And I'll play along. And I do have one book and then one general philosophical idea. And so I've been talking a lot about just being a better business partner. And to really be a better business partner, if you initially grew up as in learning as an instructional designer, say you did design background, and corporate speak is new, it is a really important skill that's not taught a lot. And sort of the underlying expectations that we don't really talk about much. And it might be in a training that you did at your company, but so many companies don't have, hey, here's what people really mean when they say, hey, can you own this work? Like, when's the last time you were in a training and someone really broke down what does that actually mean that they expect you to be doing? And were really clear about it in a way that you knew what to do. And so if that sounds at all like a challenge, the book I would recommend is Unspoken Rules by Gorick Ng. And what Gorick did is Gorick interviewed hundreds of leaders all across corporate America and said, what are those things that you expect but you don't tell people? And he put it down on paper and really translated and made it super duper tactical. He's a career coach at Harvard now, really wonderful guy. But that translation is so powerful and impactful for learning how does business actually operate behind the scenes. Not like, here's how to set a strategy, but just here's how to work. And you need to know that. You need to be able to do that as an aspiring leader in learning, if that's not a place that you already knew and were already familiar with.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And then I did say too, the other piece is this is a piece of advice I got from actually a vendor I worked with, Mo. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. And I asked him one time, how do you become an expert? And what he said is, you don't become an expert by reading a book. You become an expert by reading the research that the person who wrote the book did. And so at the back of, pick whatever your favorite book. If you liked Mindset by Carol Dweck, everyone loves it. Phenomenal book. If you've never read it, you should definitely read it. Changed my life more so personally than professionally. But go and read the research papers that she talks about. And the ability to communicate effectively about the topic when you actually know the research that was done around it. You already know the stories that you can tell from the book, but then when you have the additional rigor of the research that was actually done, pick 3 or 4 of those that were like really conveyed the point of it. And that's how you build the expertise, because then you'll start to see like what actually was the impact, what went on with the design behind that. And that lets you communicate so much more authoritatively about whatever the topic happens to be. But it's like one extra little step, not little. It is one actually a quite large step to take that so often can get missed. You can't do that with every topic, but if there's a topic that you really want to go deeper on as a learning leader, and whether that is how people learn, whether that is, you want your organization's trying to go deep on growth mindset, it's not enough as a learning leader to just say, yeah, I've read Mindset by Carol Dweck, because half your audience has read it. How do you go a little bit deeper?
Thank you, Matt, for that. Again, through this conversation, you consistently talked about, again, demonstrating value, connecting with the organization, connecting with other stakeholders. And I feel like through the book recommendations and what you just shared in terms of how to read the book recommendations, how you can demonstrate your expertise and also speak the language so that the things that you will share as things. Obviously, I need to go do some research to get a better word than things, but how you can say what needs to be said in order to communicate that value, and again, to raise your status as a trusted advisor within an organization. So the delicate dance, the waltz of tactical from strategic, but ultimately moving with the forward momentum, again, of driving value through an organization, through training and learning. So with that, Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to coming out today. As a thank you, for appearing on our show, we would like to express our appreciation and our sincere thanks We are going to plant 5 trees in your name. Our company charity is World Reforestation. We planted over close to 5,000 trees around the world. And as a special thank you to you, we're going to plant 5 trees, again, as a way to say thank you for joining us on Learning Leader Spotlight podcast.
Love it. Such a pleasure to be here. So much fun getting to tell and share stories. And folks, if I can be helpful, just reach out, find me on LinkedIn. Granted, my name is Matt Smith, so that's a little tricky to find me on LinkedIn, but just let me know.
All right. Well, we will sure to link the actual correct profile when we post this on LinkedIn and all the social media channels. So we will help all those aspiring learning leaders. So with that, thank you for joining us on this episode of Learning Leader Spotlight. Looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks for joining us for the latest episode of Learning Leader Spotlight, interviews with corporate L&D leaders. You'll find links in the show notes to any resources mentioned on today's show. If you're enjoying our podcast, please subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a 5-star review.